on there, folks? Thanks for stopping by another Wilhelm ADHD video. So for today, I wanted to talk about a couple of helpful things that I use in my life. Having inattentive ADHD doesn't make it all that easy to go out and go to places and go to establishments and organize and schedule and the whole schnoz, right? So I put together a list of 10 points that have been quite helpful to me and that might be helpful perhaps to you or somebody you know who has ADHD. So let's go down the list. Here we go. Number 1. If you have somewhere to be the next day and have lots of items to bring, get everything ready the night before, including putting gas in the car if necessary, to give you as little work as possible to do before you head out. Push yourself to do it. So with that being said, some people might be rolling their eyes and saying, easier said than done, Wilhelm. Well, we can do it. We just got to push ourselves. Get all those items ready, especially when we got other stuff and other people to bring. When we got the kids, great Aunt Gertrude and the gang, so to speak. So we got to be a little mindful and considerate to ourselves. So why not just pack everything up the night before and leave it somewhere near the door so that the following day, when you're up and about, you can just take the stuff to the car. So getting your stuff ready, having it all packed and organized, maybe labeled if you need to, is going to make a whole world of a difference. It's going to help you get to your location, to your meeting, to your deadline on time. So perhaps something to consider if you haven't done so already. Let's go to the next point. Point number 2, bring a carrying bag or some sort of case to have your ADHD essentials with you on your busy day. Whether it be medication, supplements, water, healthy snack, ADHD helpful beverages, etc., etc. So what I do for myself, when I'm out and about and I'm going to be gone all day on some busy job, trip, thing of some sort, perhaps even a concert. So in case you're going to be out and about on a busy day, what you should do, or what's recommended for you to do, is to bring a bag, to bring a carrying bag, some kind of case, laptop case, I don't know, some sort of bag that works for you. That way you can put all your stuff in there, and you won't have to be carrying stuff about and just losing and dropping stuff. So bringing some sort of case, whether it be for your supplements, your medication, water, energy beverage, whatever you need, you'll have it handy right there. So for me, I have my business bag where I have my essentials, and I also have my ADHD essentials as well. That way, if I ever need something, I have something in there. And I'm a little cray-cray, like the youngsters say these days, and carry a lot of spare shenanigans around with me. Like utensils, 9-volt battery, that's right, the square one, because you never know when you're going to need one, especially if you're a musician. A pair of drumsticks, a drum key, the list goes on. So stuff in your career that you perhaps are going to need or are going to need that are essential perhaps, and then throwing your ADHD stuff in there in an organized manner, it's really going to hit the sweet spot and help you out on those days when you really need your ADHD essentials to help you out. So hopefully that can be of some assistance. Let's go to the next point. If you take supplements and want to be compact, use a supplement/pill container. The round one with multi-slots with labels if necessary. So with that being said, I have some friends with ADHD who sometimes when we go out, they bring a bag, but they don't bring just a little container of supplements for that day. No. They bring the entire container of every supplement they're going to take. And, that's just classic ADHD. So it'd be helpful if you start a supplement regimen if you indeed take supplements. And if you're not taking supplements to help out your ADHD, it's recommended. It's recommended for you to also speak to your healthcare provider before trying supplements. But I also have a video if you want to check out on how supplements help out the neurotransmitters that people with ADHD have difficulty with. Stimulant medication, generally speaking, only helps out with dopamine and norepinephrine. There are multiple other supplements and gene mutations that need to be taken care of that supplements can be quite helpful for. So I have a link above if you want to check that out. But going back to what we're talking about. So what I do is I use the round orange pillowcase, and then I just put all my supplements in there that I'm going to be using throughout the day. Also, some people need more of a visual aid and kind of forget what supplement is which because a lot of them do look alike. So what you can do for that is you can get a pill container that has different slots. So what you can do is you can get your supplements and your medication, you can put them in the different slot compartments, and that way you'll know which is which. And if you need to label them, by all means, go ahead and label them. That way you won't have to carry a bag with all the supplements and all the containers that are carried by them. So makes it a little more compact, makes it a little easy. Perhaps something you might want to try. Let's go on to the next point. 4. Monitor how many hours it has been since you last ate. And make sure to eat when you start feeling irritable, weak, and have difficulty focusing. Eating and ADHD have a strong correlation that might lead to irritability, lack of focus, and anxiousness as well. So, do yourself a favor and track the amount of hours it's been since you last ate. I practice a lot of intermittent fasting due to the diet that I have. But generally speaking, I try to have a meal every 6 to 7 hours or so. And I make sure to try to stick to that. Sometimes you gotta go over. Life happens, right? But I try to stick to that regimen. It helps me out. It helps me be the best me I could be. Because trust me, people with ADHD, you go somewhere hungry, yeah, it's gonna be a little rough perhaps at a later point. Your decision making might go, for lack of a better word or phrase, might go out the window. So we need to be a little careful because of that. So set an alarm if you need to. Set an alarm with, and then in the description you can put, "I gotta eat immediately" or something like that. That way you can get yourself some food and some nourishment to help you out in the time being. What I do for myself is that if I'm not going to be eating for quite a while, I'll utilize a few supplements to help me out with that. And that makes quite the difference. So perhaps it can for you as well. I take creatine monohydrate. It really helps out with the methylation process of ADHD, which we have difficulty with, unfortunately. So I utilize creatine monohydrate, the most bioactive form of creatine, and I'll also utilize a collagen supplement because people with ADHD, due to difficulties we have with sleep, it's a whole long other discussion, a lot of us lack collagen. So perhaps that can be something that can help you out. If you're further interested in how food and other issues the body has affect ADHD, I have a video on ADHD and diet and the impact that a diet can have. There should be a link above if you want to check it out. So let's move on now to the next point. Number 5. If you really are not feeling well, bad night's sleep for example, and have the option to attend an event at a different point, consider that option. With ADHD, it's no surprise that a lot of us sometimes lack sleep, are really disorganized, have trouble organizing, have trouble sticking to regimens and schedules and stuff of that nature. So sometimes we can feel really overworked, especially if we work at jobs that don't really consider our condition, or go to universities or schools, high school, middle school, whatever have you, that don't understand our ADHD and expect us to be and act like everybody else and perform like everybody else. It can be really, really tiring and really, really exhausting. So fortunately, we're working on getting more consideration for the ADHD population. But in the meantime, though, we need to be a little considerate of ourselves. If we're not at our best and we have the option to attend an event at a different point, perhaps you might consider going at a different point. I've worked with and seen some people with ADHD go places when they're really tired and they're not at their best. They're perhaps a little more cranky than usual. Their decision making has a lot of difficulty. They might be a little more lethargic, and then people might start assuming, hey, what's wrong with that person? So, if you really aren't feeling too well and are not in the best state of mind and really cannot do something to change that up, perhaps consider going at a different point. It's good to be considerate of yourself, and it's okay to stand up for yourself when you need to. But at the same time, if you gave somebody your word and you made a commitment to do your job and do something, then by all means, you got to do what you got to do. But at the same time, if you have the option to do this task, to go to this event at a different point, then perhaps consider that. That's something I've allowed myself to do. I would beat myself up before if I couldn't do something when I said I was going to do it, or if I would miss a certain event, and then it would just be available at a different point, like perhaps the next day or a week later. But I would still force myself to go and push myself. That's something I've been working on to stop, because I don't want to go somewhere and not be at my best and perhaps not be the best person to other people, because it's not the other people's fault. It's the fault of my ADHD and the fact that it wasn't being attended to or taken care of perhaps during those last couple of hours or days. So be considerate to yourself. It's going to be helpful to you, and it might be helpful to others as well. So at the same time, though, keep a promise when you need to keep a promise, because our word should mean a lot, ideally. Let's go to the next point. Number 6. If you feel you might forget something important the next day, either use an alarm/notification, leave a note/reminder on your front door, or simply leave the object right in front of your front door or somewhere where you will be passing by. With ADHD, the phrase out of sight, out of mind. No joke, right? There's been many a times where I have even been prepared and had my stuff ready to go, only to forget that one certain thing. And it's like, are you kidding me? So what I do, especially for those things that are a little more difficult to remember, things that you might not be able to get ready the next day, or the night before rather, leave them right in front, perhaps, of a hallway, in front of the door of your bedroom, somewhere where you're going to see it again. That way, you'll remember to put it in the car or whatever else you need to put it. What I do for myself is that if I need to take something, or maybe take something to the UPS, to, I don't know, wherever, I'll leave the object, item, or whatever thing, I'll leave it right in front of my door, perhaps of my bedroom, right in front of the house, or wherever. That way, I'll see it, and I know what I gotta do. Once I see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I gotta take this here by this point, and then I'll take care of it. Because if I don't see it, then it's like, okay, it's just not gonna happen, because I'm gonna forget. So sometimes we might set ourselves a reminder, an alarm, and it's like, okay, I'll remember to do it. In that moment, you're gonna remember to do it. A few minutes later, though, especially after watching some YouTube video or some shenanigans. But our minds, we gotta remember, can really be distracted quite easily. So you might get the reminder, an alarm notification, you're like, okay, I gotta do this now. And it's like, boom. I'm watching a YouTube video, my mind completely forgets. I gotta do that. Especially with TikTok and all that crap out these days. People are really distracted. So leaving the object right in front of your path where you know you're going to go before you head out is going to be really helpful. That way you're like, oh, this thing, let's do the do. Let's take it where we got to take it, or whatever have you. So out of sight, out of mind. Put that thing right in front of your pathway. That way, hopefully, you'll be able to remember. Let's go on to the next point. If you have multiple things you need to bring that you cannot get ready the night before, make a checklist and check it twice. And double check that list before you head out. So as we can see, making a list and checking it twice ain't just advice that Santa Claus was taking, y'all. We people with ADHD should be taking that same advice, checking it twice. But before that, make the list. I know it's annoying. It's like I can memorize it, I know what I gotta bring. Why do I gotta make a list? Because stuff happens, life happens, and a little thing called ADHD also happens. So a list can be quite helpful. A checklist doesn't have to be really long and convoluted. It can be quite simple. Just a list of essentials you need to bring so you don't forget the next day. So perhaps make that a week before, the night before, as soon as possible. That way you can check the next day that hopefully you didn't forget something, because there's always that pesky one little thing. So hopefully that can be of some assistance. Let's go on to the next point. Number 8, keep your rejection sensitive dysphoria in check and be aware of the implications it brings. RSD is a really, really intense feeling, a negative feeling that just feels absolutely horrible. And this is due to our heightened central nervous system that can easily be startled, which causes us to feel emotions a good amount of the time in a manner that does not really fit the circumstance. Emotion might feel a little more extreme. And some people might think we're overreacting to stuff, but with rejection sensitive dysphoria, anytime we feel like we've let somebody down, there comes this really horrible feeling. And this feeling like we don't want to see that person because we might feel really ashamed. There's a big sense of guilt and just sadness that might come. The same feeling might arise if you feel like someone's let you down and they didn't come through for you. Perhaps you feel like you went out of your way for somebody, but they couldn't go out of their way for you. They couldn't do that one little thing. And that just hurts a little too much sometimes. RSD is a pretty profound thing. And if you weren't aware about it before, I got a video where I discuss rejection sensitive dysphoria in detail and the implications of what it can do and how it can stop us from really experiencing and living our lives, because we live in that anxiousness of trying to avoid feeling that dreaded feeling that RSD brings. So I have a link above about rejection sensitive dysphoria and the impacts it has on ADHD if you want to check that out, because RSD is no joke. It really makes a big impact on a lot of people. And if it's left unaddressed, those impacts are mainly going to be negative. And they're going to stop a lot of people. Maybe. And they're going to stop a lot of people, maybe even you, from fully reaching your potential. I know for me, RSD certainly stopped me from trying a lot of things and going a lot of places. Because RSD a lot of time hurts. But becoming aware of it, learning to understand it, owning up to it, and seeing it for what it is has really helped me out. It's really helped me to see that to know it, to understand it, to modify it, really helps me keep it on check. And it helps keep my ADHD on check and lets me have a lot of beautiful and wonderful experiences that I perhaps otherwise would have never had. So it's a message of hope, and I hope that you can look into that further. Let's go to the next point. Number 9, practice mindfulness. Pay attention. Pay attention to your how your body is feeling. Perhaps to the temperature, your level of comfortability. If you're having a meal, pay attention to the taste and just use your 5 senses and really immerse yourself in the experience. A lot of the time with ADHD, we're really distracted, and it's a little hard to take stuff in sometimes because we're really nervous. But with practicing mindfulness, we can definitely help ourselves out. So try to pay attention to the little things that are going on within you. Appreciate the positive feelings that can come sometimes with being in certain places that you wouldn't otherwise be. Second point of mindfulness is try to live in the moment. Try to come into the situation with an open mind and realize that you're not going to be able to control everything, and that's okay. But appreciate what you have in that moment and try to make the best of it. Your mindset and viewpoint is really going to determine a good amount of your outcome. A lot of people have no idea how important our viewpoint is of stuff. It can really change a lot of stuff. So let's practice living in the moment, appreciating what comes our way and trying to work with it. I know a lot of the time the stuff that we have to deal with in life, especially if we have ADHD, is not the easiest thing to do. But we can certainly take steps, perhaps small steps at first, to try to improve our life and the circumstances surrounding our life. So that way we can start improving the ADHD. The third part of practicing mindfulness is accept yourself. Understand that you have a condition that is unlike what neurotypicals, people without ADHD or a condition. That's unlike what they understand or know. In life, we're conditioned and taught to be considerate of other people. And ideally, a lot of people are. But at the same time, people are not conditioned to be considerate to symptoms and difficulties of ADHD. That's not a thing that's generally taught out in society or in schools. Eventually, we will see growth and acceptance of the symptoms of ADHD. But for the moment, try your best to be accepting of yourself and to improve in the areas you need to improve in. Refine yourself. Try to become introspective. Seek help, seek guidance, seek therapy, seek counseling. Anything that can be of assistance to you or a system that might work for you. But most importantly, accept yourself and accept that there is help out there. But at the same time, don't beat yourself up too much. If you're trying to do something to help yourself out and something harsh happens because of the ADHD, it's okay. We're not always going to be able to conquer and do everything we got to do. That's life with or without ADHD. But be considerate to yourself and don't compare yourself to people who don't have ADHD. Because they don't have the struggles that you do. Accept yourself. Refine yourself. Embrace yourself. Final point for practicing mindfulness is focus on your breathing. A lot of the time when we feel anxiousness, there's certain parts of the body where the anxiousness might start. For a lot of people, it might be in the chest area by the heart. So practice some breathing exercises to help you out. There's a lot of breathing techniques that are available out there that a lot of different therapists use. I myself practice transcendental meditation. If you feel that might be of some help, perhaps you might want to look up how to do transcendental meditation. It's really quite easy and something you only got to do for the most part 2 times a day for 15 minutes each or 30 minutes. It's really helpful and it really helps a lot of the ADHD symptoms diminish. But most importantly, it helps you practice being mindful, which is really going to help out your ADHD. So hopefully practicing mindfulness can be of some assistance to you or perhaps somebody you know who has ADHD. And the final point, number 10, there are some things that are going to be out of your control, and that's okay. Remember to cut yourself some slack, and remember that you have ADHD. So for this last point, I want to reiterate that having ADHD brings with itself a lot of difficulty, because a lot of the time there's a lot of unpredictability sometimes. Our behavior or actions and the way we think can certainly make a difference and can lessen the unpredictability a lot of the time. If you have not got your ADHD diagnosed, I highly urge you to find a psychiatrist or a doctor near you that can help you with the evaluation process. Getting started on the evaluation process and perhaps researching before that can be the first step you can take to changing your life if you haven't done so already. If you have difficulty accepting the notion that you or somebody you know might have ADHD, I recommend this video. The link should be above, entitled Coming to Terms with ADHD. There's a lot of openness and acceptance now in a lot of different avenues, including mental health, but there's still a lot of negative stigma that comes from conditions of mental health, perhaps from an individual's culture, perhaps from their family and friends. So it can be tough sometimes, but we got to take the steps necessary. So if you want to check out that video, Coming to Terms with ADHD, the link should be above. So going back to the main point, though, is that we got to understand that we can't beat ourselves up, especially for the years that we weren't diagnosed. It's okay to feel the need to take responsibility, but don't beat yourself up for the years of which you were undiagnosed with ADHD and committed a lot of errors, perhaps, and perhaps made some wrong decisions. We all have. It's only human. Especially if you have a condition like ADHD that really impacts your life, especially if you're not taking care of it. So I urge you to perhaps go and get an evaluation or start researching about ADHD. I got plenty of videos here on the channel if you want to check out further. But at the same time, understand that not everything is going to be under your control a lot of the time. There's things that happen and things that occur that are out of our control. And we got to be okay with that. We got to be okay with ourselves. We should ideally want to improve and refine ourselves. And absolutely improve and refine our ADHD. Because it can really not only negatively impact us, but it can really negatively impact those around us, our family members, our friends, our colleagues, and so many avenues of our life. So be considerate to yourself. Be considerate to those others who have ADHD. And understand that it's okay to be you. At the same time, it's also okay to ask for help and to go and get help. We're in this together. People with ADHD, we're like one big tribe. People who have struggled with a lot of the same difficulties. We can certainly do a lot to help ourselves out. Spread the word of ADHD so other people out there can know about it. And if you have trouble admitting that you have ADHD, perhaps that's something for you to work on and become introspective about. You'd be surprised, a lot of people are very accepting of people with ADHD because word is getting out there. Little by little. Stand up for yourself. Refine yourself. Embrace yourself. Embrace the ADHD, but most importantly, let's refine and take control of our ADHD. That's it for today, folks. Hopefully those 10 points were of some assistance and can help you, or perhaps somebody you know with ADHD, and can help them out and can help them improve. Until next time, folks, take it easy. This is your comrade Wilhelm, over and out.